Hey, what is up, guys? It is John again from the Collectors Company. At the end of the year, giving you guys my Christmas present to you guys, New Year's gift as well. Happy holidays to everyone, real quick before we go into the deck profile. Now, sorry if I sound a little tired. This is my second time recording this, and it's 1 a.m. I probably could do this another time, but I'm gonna be a little bit busy during this Christmas break. So yeah, happy holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. And hope you guys have a nice relaxing break. And as I said before, my gift for you guys is this deck profile, this Son Goku Set 16 deck profile. Um, I When this leader was first announced, I wasn't too impressed with it. I thought it was just okay, and it was depending on what the archetype would give. After playing this leader, my opinions on it has completely changed. After seeing all the cards revealed again, obviously giving more insight as cards are coming out. I believe at this point all the red cards have been revealed. So the only new cards that could come out for this deck would be promos, which I wouldn't be surprised if they give them a promo because it's U7. Come on, guys, let's be real. But this deck has been a ton of fun to playtest. I've played probably with this particular incarnation of the build. I want to say I played about 10 or so games. Not against every single meta deck in the world, testing against likes of like Vegeta, BR, the new one that came out, and other bits and pieces. Plus, of course, we haven't seen the entire set, so this build will update as it goes. So I will leave a link in the description below to my deck list. You guys can just check me out on Deck Planet. Just look up Pyro Shad and all my builds. I'm pretty sure most of my builds are public. I don't think I have anything private, but yeah, I'm gonna try and go in depth as possible about this deck. Some stuff I've learned about playing the deck, as well as some SER options, because obviously we have this beautiful card here, and I've also got some other options too. The sideboard here is just cards I would consider between the main and the side. Again, I want to update this build as it goes along, and yeah, I'll give you guys my in-depth analysis and yeah, breakdown of the deck. So the big thing we'll go over first is that the whole gimmick of this deck is trying to get 20 cards in the drop area for your 8 drop Goku to be live. I am running a 60 card deck. I don't think you ever will play 50 cards in this main. You will deck out consistently if you play 50 cards, so I think at a minimum you need at least 54 cards in the main. I've opted for 60 because you do go through your deck a lot, and with how the deck works, you kind of have access to your drop area as a second hand. I've never felt bad once going to 60. However, I do think I do want to cut it down a little bit, find out what I don't actually need, just to be a bit more consistent overall. But right now, don't see the 60 card build and be like, what is this? Right? It actually, you go through a lot of cards in this deck. So let's go over this leader real quick. So permanent, this is the one thing that people are shying away. Permanent, you can't send cards from your drop area to your warp. It's actually not a bad, like, it does suck, obviously you can't overrun, but again, the gimmick of this deck is to get Sparking 20 live for your boss monsters. A lot of the cards actually require you to have cards in your drop area to resolve, and the way I've designed this deck, if you've noticed, you can resolve your entire deck from 8 life, so that's how I've designed this deck specifically, right? But yeah, so this permanent can't overrun cards, it is what it is, not too big of a deal. I think the biggest drawback, honestly, from this is that you can't actually play Draw Ape, say an Instinct, so for hand destruction matchups, you can't run that card. Is what it is, but it's not a big deal. Auto, once per turn, auto when this card attacks, draw a card, very standard what you expect. And this is the kind of cute thing about this deck, right? The active main burst 3 once per turn. You get to draw a card and then choose a card from your hand and discard it. So realistically, what this leader front side says, you get to draw 2 cards and pitch 1, and you burst 3 cards as well. That's a really insane value, because the thing is that you can swing with this leader first to draw a card, then use the active main to draw another card, so you plus 2 already, and then you choose from your hand between your existing cards plus your 2 brand new cards. And as well, once you get cards in the drop area, it actually fills your awaken condition, is where if you have 4 or less life, which whatever is what it is, and if you have, or this is the big one, if you have 7 or more Universe 7 cards in your drop area, you can awaken by untapping 1 and drawing 1. I've consistently been able to awaken turn 2 with this deck, and the strongest turn 2 play you can do is play a unison, do your leader skills awaken, and then play either this Freezer 1-drop or this Android 17 1-drop, which we'll go into a little bit more. But yeah, I think this is very powerful. Again, the way I designed this deck was for it to be resolved at as high a life total as possible, so that way you can stay healthy. Yes, you don't get an influx of cards, but it is so hard to get through this deck, and the deck, just every card you play in this deck almost replaces itself. But yeah, I think it's just insane. It's very, very powerful. Then the backside as well. is again the same permanent skill, but the difference now is that you have the active main's been changed, where it's once per turn you draw a card and then place up to 3 cards from the top of your deck in the drop area. My general rule of thumb I've gone for, once I get 20 cards in the drop area, I start discarding. I stop discarding cards from my deck, just because there's no real point. Once we have Sparking 20, everything is live. Our active main Sparking 20 on the second skill is live, and the Sparking 20 on the Ultra Mastery is live as well. And then the active main, you choose one mono red universe 7 card from your drop area, add it back to your hand. The big thing I've really used this ability for is mainly to grab back super combos from my drop to my hand, so I can use more of them throughout the game. And then also, if I don't have Ultra Mastery on turn 4, which is what you want to do, on turn 4 you always want to be playing Ultra Mastery if possible, because the card is just that snapped. You want to be using this skill to grab that back. And the way how it works is you should, if you do everything like not even if you miss sequence, because essentially every turn you're putting 4 cards in your drop area on the front side with this ability, burst 3, and then drawing 1, pitching 1. And then on the same turn you awaken, you're able to swing with the leader, draw a card, then awaken and resolve this active main, so you get an additional plus. That's how you do want to awaken with this leader. If you're able to do that, you will be plussing a lot of cards, and getting on that one turn alone, you get 7 additional cards into your drop area, which is almost half of what you need for Ultra Mastery. So ideally, by turn 2, you should have at least 10 cards in your drop area if everything's going smoothly and you've awakened on turn 2. But yeah, that's it for the leader. The leader, of course, it does suck having the permanent skill where you can't overrun, but the rest of the leader skill is actually really powerful. Like, it's a generic effect of just drawing 2 on the front and then bursting 3, and then also discarding 1. And then the backside effect is really great as well, being able to draw a card without interacting with your opponent. Like, you just open your turn by just like, yeah, I'm going to draw a card to start my turn, charge my energy, draw another card for my leader skill. Very powerful stuff. So let's go over the deck here. So we'll mainly go over the new cards first. The thing that really impressed me was these 3 cards here. When reading these 3 cards, the Android 17, everyone read this like, yep, fantastic card, amazing. Then I saw the Goku and Frieza, I was like, these cards seem okay, but after testing them, like, I knew the Goku was good, this Frieza really overperformed, this Frieza is amazing. So we'll just go through them in order. I'll start with the 17 first. This Android 17 has this active main limit 1. If your leader card is a red U7 card and there's 5 or more U7 cards in your drop area, you can play this card for 1 red energy. This is a 1-drop double strike Sparking 7 boy. You will most likely always have 5, you'll most likely, when you're playing this, like, you already have 5 in the drop, surely you have 2 more for the Sparking 7. So this is essentially a 1-drop 15k double strike. That also has the ability every time it attacks, by the way, so the longer it stays on the board, the better. You get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck for a mono red universe 7 card and add it to your hand. This is just insane. If you're able to establish this, again, the best play you can do on this in this deck is turn 2, if you can awaken, if you'd have 7 U7 cards in the drop area based off your leader bursting ability and maybe comboing as whatever's happened. Playing King Piccolo on turn 2, resolving your leader, then awakening, getting your energy back and playing this. You have such a powerful board state that just can draw you a lot of cards if it goes unchecked. So this card is just an amazing card for the deck. Next, we'll go into the Frieza. The Frieza once again has the active main ability, the limit 1, and if you got the cards, yada yada yada, you get to play it from your hand for 1. The difference between this Frieza and the 17 is that this one's actually locked to Son Goku leader card, but other than that, it's the exact same. Also, instead of it being a double striker, it's a dual attacker. So this card is essentially Basil, right? You're paying 1 energy for a 19k dual attacker, but the difference is that this card is always a 19k base by default, and it also is not unique, so you can play multiple. Yes, it is limit 1, but that doesn't mean you can have multiple of these bad boys out. It just means you can only be playing 1 a turn. And then the other thing that's really cool about this card as well, it offers you really powerful board removal. It lets you just choose a battle card, negative 15k, get rid of it. This card's amazing. Again, instead of your turn 2 play is either doing the awaken thing and either playing this 17 or this Frieza, allows you to start board clearing, allows you to pressure unisons. This card is just an amazing card. Originally, I was only running at 3 in one of my earlier builds of this. I've tested this a little bit and I've tweaked it a little bit, but this is 100% 4 of, and then I actually was running 3 of the Divine Presence, but I bumped it down to 2 just because it's not as important as these 3 cards. And the last one card of these like 1-drop packages of the new particular stuff, the Son Goku Sign of Mastery. It has a counterplay, again, limit 1. All these cards are like, if you play with the counterplay skill, it is a limit 1. Again, with the Sparking 7, if your leader's a mono red Son Goku and you have Sparking 7, it's a 1-drop, its energy cost is reduced by 2. But this is the main thing about this card. If your leader card is a Universe 7 card, ooh, crazy, when this card is played, you choose up to one of any of your opponent's battle cards and they get 15k, and if you killed the battle card, you get to draw a card. So the reason why this is amazing is it's a counterplay with the auto skill, so kind of like charismatic villain in a sense, where you're paying 1 for this and you get the KO or anything, so it gets around things with deflect, which is huge. And then on top of that as well, it actually replaces itself. Keep in mind, you can play this for 1 energy on your turn, and it's a 19k just cantrip. And it also kills something. Like, this card is super good. This card is a 4-up for sure in this deck. Very powerful card. Very exciting. It's just a sick card. This card, like, these 3 cards have overperformed so much in testing, and it's like giving me massive confidence in this deck. That this deck will be like, I don't know how meta relevant this deck will be, but it's definitely a deck that you cannot sleep on, because if you're not prepared for this deck, it will just destroy you. The next 2 battle cards we'll go over these other 17s and freezes. So um, Android 17 Heeding the Call, it's got a limit 1 burst one where if it's milled from the top of your deck, you get to play it from your drop area. And then also when this card's played from hand, you draw a card. Quite unfortunate where it says when this card's played from hand. So let's just say you burst this from your leader skill, you do get to play it, and then you kind of replace the card you bursted anyway. I think this is, even though you don't get the draw card, it's still a cantrip if you do see it in hand, so it's not a dead card that you wouldn't want to mill anyway. But the thing about it is that, like, let's just say now, if you see this card, you're essentially getting a free +1, right? Yes, you don't draw the card, but you get to play a free 5k combo, which can be relevant. It's just free, it's a free card. It doesn't actually affect your drop area, because when you do play it, you recycle it immediately, and if you do open it in hand, it's just a cantrip. So I think this is a staple 4 in the deck, because the more you mill, if you mill multiple of them again, it's just it turns your leader into a like even bigger possibility. And then the big card that is like the reason why this deck is so good is a sparking super combo. When I saw the first set of reveals, I said, yep, this they have to get a sparking super combo, and fortunately enough, they did. Sparking is super relevant for this deck. Again, you're able to awaken at any life total, so you want to be at a higher life. Like, you want to be at least 6 life when you awaken, and you have your super combos live from, again, you're on the front side of your leader before your opponent even plays the game. You active main, you burst 3, you draw a card, you discard a card. That's already 4 cards in your drop area, so sparking should always be live. This will be live potentially turn 1 if whatever happens, if you combo something off or whatever, or turn 2 at the latest. So this is the main super combo for the deck. I don't see you never not running the super combo. And again, you can grab it off your leader for additional value. And the second last new red battle card is this Vegeta. We're only running this as a 3-of. It costs 2 energy, so it's a bit more expensive for what it does. I think what it does is fine, but I don't think you need to run this at 4. What this card does is active main Sparking 10 for 2 energy. If your leader's a mono red, use 7 card, you can play it from your hand. Sparking 10 again, that's fine. Deflect critical, really good. And then when you play this card, you get to draw 1 card and then choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, minus in 15k. So this effect is really good, right? It replaces itself, which is huge, and it kills 2 bodies. The only thing that sucks is the fact that it is neg 15. Right? It hits a lot of the smaller things, but for a card that also ignores barrier, majority of the battle cards in the game that you want to remove with barrier are 20ks. Like, the main threats are Lord Slug and Absolute Annihilation. I think those are the biggest culprits for stuff you want to remove with barrier. Yeah, it's nice it kills Poutine as well. I'm specifically talking for the yellow matchup, right? But I think it's not really worth being a 4-of, in my opinion. I think 3-of is fine, but the fact that it costs 2, these cards are just better to play. But it's still an amazing card for sure. And then the last new battle card we have is this Son Goku Ultra Mastery. This card is snapped. This is the reason why you want to play the game. It has Deflect, Double Strike, Dual Attack. If you have 10 or more of your 7 cards in your drop area, which you will by the time you get to turn 4, this deck, if you're active maining on both sides and awakening and playing the game, you will have both these effects live. You get to play this card from your hand and choose all your opponent's battle cards, neg them 35k. So you play this, you wipe your opponent's board. Already amazing. Like, that alone is amazing. Deflect, Double Strike, wipes your opponent's board. On top of that, in this deck, because this is going to be the only deck you can consistently get the Sparking 20 on the turn you play this, when you attack with this card, you look at your opponent's hand in IMAX high definition and choose any card in the hand, 7 or less. That pretty much hits every card in the game. Well, this is an age drop, a majority of the cards in the game, besides like SERs. And I'm not entirely too sure how the unison ruling works on if you can actually snipe a unison from hand with this card. But I think overall, this card is phenomenal. This is like the reason why we play this. We're running it a 3-of again. We can't play it until turn 4. And even if we were to run more, we have multiple ways to cycle it back, mainly with the leader and another card we'll talk about in a little bit. But this card's phenomenal. This card is amazing. This card, yeah, this card is why you want to play this leader and this archetype. It's such a powerful boss monster. And the thing is that, like, even if they do floodgate you, or whatever, even if they don't, like, this 35k base double strike dual attack, this is pushing through for damage. This is going to be eating so many cards out of your opponent's hand, and you get to choose a card to just take out of the hand to begin with. This card is over the top good, and yeah, it's going to be the main boss monster. There's no reason to play a different boss monster other than this one. And finally, the last new card we have in the deck is the Android 17 and Golden Freezer Unison. For those of you guys who do not know what the new Empower keyword skill does, if you when you play this card over another Unison, you actually get to carry over the markers. So Empower 2 means you can take a total of 2 markers from the previous Unison. And then, so this will be coming in for 2 energy with 4 markers if you replace the Piccolo. It says auto burst 1, so you get to burst the card and draw a card if it has 4 markers on it, which it will if you play it the correct way. Like if you like Empower 2. And then it has another ability where once you do burst the card, you get to add a marker to this card, and then also Mega Battle Card 15k. And then the last effect is active main -4. This card gains triple attack and 5k power. So this card, it reads decently. Like essentially, it's kind of like another way to push through for game. This card is realistically only good into yellow, where it kind of gets through riposte, right? But the rest of the effect is just okay. Like, because the thing is that you've got to be putting itself on 1 marker when you resolve the skill anyway. It doesn't resolve anything. I've actually, in testing it in all the 10 games, I've never actually played this card once. I've just never felt that it's been relevant, like on times where you would. This card's like only really good to push through for game. When it has been time to push through for the game, this card has never been like really a realistic option. It doesn't. There's no reason to ever play this card if you can just play Omen instead. Yeah, Ultra Mastery instead. So I think this card will be something I will potentially take out. So far, it has been underperforming. I do think it's really good into yellow specifically to push through a riposte, but I don't think that that's enough reason to justify mainboarding it. So I think this card will most likely be coming out of the deck, but it is something you can try out for sure. But so far, it just seems okay. But yeah, that's it for the new cards. So we'll talk about the rest of the cards we'll go over are the U7 package. So we'll start off with the cards I'm more confident in. The first one being this Gohan here. Real quick, I understand I'm not running any skillless cards in this deck. I'm not running the skillless engine. I don't think there's any point running the skillless engine in this deck. The fact that these new battle cards all replace themselves, all have amazing effects. There's no room for the skillless engine. And then on top of that as well, it's like, well, you don't really have an easy way to get these cards out. Like the thing is that with the Gohan leader, you get to draw so much when you do combo. This leader doesn't have that explosive draw power on both turns. It really gets, it's like mainly a majority of its draws like incrementally, like slowly throughout the game, not like as bursty as the Gohan leader. So I don't think there's any reason to run the skillless package, but the big thing about this is that this is still a cantrip that searches your entire deck. This searches for any U7 card 4 or less, which is every Universe 7 card in this deck besides Ultra Mastery, and then it also has the option to look for a unison with a specified cost of 2. That is phenomenal. Like, you actually get so much value out of this card specifically, and there's like, yeah, there's no reason not to run this as a 1-drop cantrip. It's just such a powerful thing. Like, being able to search your entire deck without having to worry about, like, you know, any downsides is pretty good. The rest of the Universe 7 cards we have here, we have Son Goku, the Divine Presence. So this is just a 4-drop 20k dual attacker. It's pretty good. You can push through for game here. Again, it is not as good as in the Gohan deck. The main thing being, like, again, you're not comboing as much cards, and we're not running skillless things. Yeah, I think it's, like, fine. I think the fact that Frieza comes out for 1 energy and does provide that dual attack threat makes me want to consider maybe cutting this, but I think it's still fine to have a 30k dual attacker that can't be removed by skills. It's a fantastic way to push through for game, and it's just, yeah, it's just a very phenomenal card. You can definitely push through for game with this card. The other Goku we have is this Son Goku. That everyone knows this card. You discard to kill a battle card, ignoring barrier. That's 25k or less, or negative 25k, which, you know, same thing. And then being able to play it for 3, you just nuke your opponent's board. All your 20ks or less. So yeah, this is the really cool thing about this deck that I like already knew before the cards were revealed, that I had a feeling that this deck would be good, because the majority of the utility universe, the majority of red utility cards in the game are all Universe 7, so it has just instant synergy with the deck. So that's why I was very excited for it. Like other two cards here is this Vegeta again. This Vegeta's not played as much. I think this card's relatively slept on. It has two abilities. It's a 5k combo. And when you combo it, if you have three or more energy at the end of the combo, you can pay one red energy and pump your leader 5k and untap your leader. So it makes your leader a dual attack more or less. Very powerful. And then the active battle for one red, you just discard it from your hand and neg one of your opponent's battle cards. 10k. So it's kind of like a cheeky way to remove things in the combo step. You can kind of cheese out wins for this, depending on what card your opponent swings on. But yeah, I think it's like good board clear, and like again, it's U7 has some synergy with the deck. And the last U7 card we play is this Vegeta Spirit Mentor. It's a deflect barrier. You play it for 3. It has this effect here, which is irrelevant in the deck because we're not running the Cub Unison, but you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and neg it 30k. There's a handful of cards in the game that Kaioken Goku cannot reach, and this card just allows you to get on top of that. Plus, being deflect barrier is just another U7 body that can come out on the board and have some utility. And then the other ability is auto once per turn, Spirit Boost 1. If your leader card is mono red and this card is in rest mode, when your opponent attacks your leader card, you can just neg a marker off a Unison and then give it 5k combo, like 5k power for the battle. So just again, nice utility card. Again, it is again for 3. It's pretty like the point of this card and the Kaioken Goku is just to be able to remove barrier cards in the main. And Kaioken, yes, it is cheaper, but it can't hit everything. And this Vegeta, you're paying that one extra energy to get rid of those bigger barrier threats that do exist in the game. So that's the big reason for this. Plus, another nice thing about this can just instantly answer Kefla if that's in play. If you're not at your Ultra Mastery turn, just kill Kefla, you know. And yeah, the last technically U7 card we play is just We Are Universe 7, right? This card's phenomenal in the deck. We only run it at 2. I don't think you need it any more than 2. You can't combo it, you can't grab it back. But the main thing about this card is that it has 2 effects. We'll go over the worst one first, which is just choose one Universe 7 card with an energy cost of 4 or less in your deck and add it to your hand. Sometimes I've played this turn 1 if I haven't had another cantrip to play just to add a super combo to hand. That's perfectly fine. And the main reason we play this card is that you choose up to one Universe 7 card from your drop area and add it to your hand. So we're bursting a lot of cards. The majority of our cards will go to our dropper, and this can essentially grab any card from our deck back to our hand as long as it has a U7 tag. So I think that's really, really powerful. Like, you know, we can use this. If we're running a U7 SCL, we can recycle U7 SCL with our leader and this, grab back super combos. Like, if you use your leader skill in 2 unit, we are U7 on super combos, you get to run 7 super combos in your deck, and I think that's just insanely powerful. But yeah, that's it for the U7 card. So we'll go over specifically every other card in the deck. Not too many other options. We've got King Piccolo Unison, the best red Unison in the game. No questions asked for 2 energy. Draws you a card every turn. Hard kills every counter skill in the game. Like punishes your opponent for using counters. This card's absurd. And again, our best turn 2 play in this deck is hopefully by turn 2 we have 7U7 in the drop. We've used the front side of our leader. We played our Unison for 2. We used the skills. We've awakened, untap 1, draw 1. Use the skill again to draw another card and put 3 more in there and play either 17 or Frieza on turn 2. Very powerful stuff. Then the rest of the stuff is pretty self-explanatory. We've got the Yamcha counterplay to go alongside it. We've got 1 feathering destruction chomper because we're a red deck. We need to go for game somehow. New ruler, it's our overarm, I guess, so we're not completely scammed to have overarms, right? 3 testing the opposition. This is the only card you can't actually resolve in this deck at more than at 8 life. You have to be at 5 life to get the counter skill, but the effect of this is too powerful. Negate attack and play a blocker. A card that like replaces itself and stops 2 attacks. Just quite powerful. And then lastly, other than our SCR, is our After Image technique. I'm running this as a 4 of. Again, the whole gimmick, or not the gimmick, the whole point of this deck is to be able to resolve the entire deck at max life. And this is just the sparking card for red. I think, yes, it does kind of suck that it doesn't straight up stop the attack. Sometimes your opponent may combo over it. However, on the flip side of that, this card can potentially, in the early game, stop 2 attacks. The first one, like, it pumps your battle card 40k, stopping that attack, and then you don't actually have to neg your opponent's the card they're attacking with. You can just neg one of the battle cards 10,000 power, so I think that's extremely high value. And again, it's one of those things where we can use this throughout that from turn 1, right? Our leader puts 4 cards in the drop area on its own turn 1. So like, sure, we can combo something off, right? Like, if it needs be. And it being live from that early in the game is just, yeah, really good. And we have to flex my with artworks after image once I get them from Mythic Booster, boys. Gotta flex that. And then the last main board card. So I really thought about this really hard. What SCR do you want to run, right? What is the best SCR for the deck? And the three SCRs that have come to mind are Broly SS4, the Great Destroyer, Time Patrol Maiden, and then the new Vegeta Brittled Power. Yeah, Unbrittled Power. By the way, this card is beautiful. I'm getting this card 1 billion%. I'm whooping out the bank for this card. I love it. Vegeta's my favorite character, so that's why, you know. Um, but yeah, I think those are the three options. You don't want to run. Honestly, this Son Goku and Frieza is just the worst version of this Vegeta, in my opinion. Tapping out for 5 of this feels really bad. Yeah, okay, counter block or whatever. Can get hit by counter plays, right? Like, come on, you can literally just get hit by in blue, God Ceiling exists. In yellow, you just get hit by Steadfast Ally and it'll just get tapped, and you just do 1 damage. Where Vegeta can literally do for cheap do 1 damage anyway, right? So like Vegeta is literally just a better version of this card, and I would be definitely picking this bad boy up for collection reasons. And you also don't really need Kai because again, the big thing about Kai is that it's some complete board wipe. Well, like this card exists, board wipes. This card exists, board wipes. There's no real reason for Kai. Yes, your Kai gets rid of unisons, but like we already have easy ways to deal with unisons in this deck, so I don't think there's any reason for Kai. The SER I've tested, I have not tested Pan or the Vegeta yet, but I have tested Broly, and in conjunction with the Ultra Mastery, because how you would play the Broly is that on turn 4, you'd play your Ultra Mastery, do a board wipe, have a preview of the hand, swing a couple of times, yada yada yada. Then you go into Broly. That is how you play the Broly SS4. I think once the Broly SS4 comes out, there's not really much your opponent can do to win the game. Because Broly SS4 for the turn, it gives you a lead 10k pump until the end of your opponent's next turn. So if you're not winning, your opponent's not, and on top of that as well, the permanent skill, just making all their cards 5k. They can't play one drops without them dying. They can't combo 5k combos anymore. Like this Broly is just a really powerful win more card, and I think it is an option that you should really consider for this deck, since the main boss monster of this deck is a 35k mono red Saiyan. Next argument for the Pan is that, again, the Broly, as I just said, it is kind of a win more card. So, you know, you don't really need it to win more if you're already winning. This Pan, on the other hand, it can completely buy you an additional turn to get to your 4-drop your Ultra Mastery. So that's the big reason to run this Pan. Plus, being able to steal battle cards nice, but the big thing about it, it can buy you an additional turn, and it's a 0 energy card that can steal something, which, you know, it's just very energy efficient, this card, and the fact it buys you the turn. And then of course the last SCR, this Vegeta. So obviously the first pro about this Vegeta is that it's just a U7 card, right? The Broly S4 and the Pan Maiden, Time Patrol Maiden, they aren't Universe 7. As soon as they go to your drop area, you're not getting them for the rest of the game. That is what it is. I think it's fun to run that risk because the only thing that I don't like about this Vegeta, I think this Vegeta is amazing, by the way. I think it's so good. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's on the same turn you want to play Ultra Mastery, right? Like Pan is for free, and so is the Broly, right? And Broly comes in conjunction with the Ultra Mastery. It doesn't get in its way. It supports it. It makes it even stronger than what it is. And Pan allows you to get an additional turn, more or less, right? Stopping battle card swings and stealing something. The thing about this Vegeta is coming out on turn 4, which is the same turn as Ultra Mastery. That's the only thing that sucks about this card for this specific deck, right? And another thing about it too is that the fact that it's sparking 25, you're not going to get the full value out of this card consistently on turn 4, which is when you want to be playing it. Yes, it's amazing that you're able to use this ability to instantly burn your opponent for a life, and yes, it is amazing that if everything goes smoothly, it makes your kill turn easier, being dual attack, triple strike, with deflect, clearing their entire board. Like, it reads amazing, and I do think it is amazing. I just think that the other two options are a little bit better. Not that this card's bad. This card's amazing. The only downside about this card is literally competing for this card's turn. And this card's phenomenal. This card's over the top. And the only big difference, the two big differences about the board wipe effects. Yes, the Vegeta has gets to remove barrier cards and unisons, right, which Ultra Mastery cannot do. But Vegeta, and it also deals with damage when you do it, by the way. But then Vegeta leaves the board. Like, that's quite unfortunate. And you kind of have to. It doesn't happen when you play the Vegeta. It happens after the Vegeta, right? Like after you want to use this active main. So that's the big thing about the two of them. I think probably going forward, Pan might end up being the best SCR option, then Broly, then this Vegeta. I think the Pan and Vegeta, the Pan and the Broly are pretty close in power level for this deck. But I think the Vegeta, just the fact that it's competing for Harder Mastery spot, I keep calling Harder Mastery, Ultra Mastery spot, is a bit unfortunate for it. But I do still think that if you would like to run it, I think it's perfectly fine. Just keep in mind that this card is snapped. and that's like, yeah, it's literally like, yeah, the fact that this card is so broken makes this card less good, which is actually crazy to me. Like this, yeah, yeah, you can auto win a game with this card, but like so can this Broly, so can this Pan. Like they buy you times for this, so yeah. So that's the main deck, guys. I'll go into some other stuff. Again, if you do have this SCR, it is a U7 SCR, so you can grab it from the drop area. However, I don't think it's that good, unfortunately. Like the Vegeta just power crept this SCR, like straight up. This card just got rolled, which is pretty funny. It is actually really funny. Um, Next thing was this Vegeta Unison of Might. I'm thinking about mainboarding this Vegeta over the Golden Freezer and Android 17 just because its effects are generically better. Again, the problem with Vegeta, it is competing for Ultra Mastery spot. Like Ultra Mastery is just snapped. Like Ultra Mastery is like will be the best 4-drop in the game, hands down. Like complete board wipe, look at your opponent's hand, snipe a card, double strike, dual attack, insane, insanely powerful. But yeah, and the fact that this Vegeta is competing for that turn 4 slot makes it a little bit more awkward to play. So yeah, just keeping that in mind. Next, we just have kind of generic Topo stuff. You know, Topo, Medical, that is a negate. That's the main thing about Topo. Violent Rays, again, Medical, depends on the meta, depends on your local. Aggro matchups, you can maybe find the main board one or two of these, especially for like Sin Shenron, Gogeta Zeno, stuff like that. Then next we have Broly Crown. The only thing that, like, I thought about it, I don't think you actually need a Broly Crown in this deck, because realistically, for what this deck does, the only card you realistically want to hit is Charismatic Villain. But then again, Charismatic Villain doesn't even deal with the boss monster. And, like, yes, you can hit Riposte with this, you can hit whatever, but I don't think it's really necessary. I don't think it's really worth playing Broly. It is just an option. Like, you can do more hand destruction, etc., etc. But the only card that makes sense to hit is Charismatic Villain, so you don't lose your Frieza and you don't lose your 17 when you play them. So yeah. And then the next card I have here is a Vegeta Resolve Renewed. I think this card's fairly slept on. If you have 3 or more energy, this card is only a 1-cost card, and it has a counterplay skill, so it means the card effect, let's say your opponent riposte, you play this, it goes straight to the drop area, no questions asked. If you play this, the battle card gets played in the drop area. That's literally it. It's a 1-drop counterplay that can, stop your prospect, stop riposte. I think it's pretty good. I do think it's better than Beerus Ball if you're playing red, just because Beerus Ball kind of does the same thing, but just not as good as this. And Beerus Ball you have to resolve for 1 energy anyway to play, but whereas this is just like also 1 energy, it also gives you a body. And yeah, I think that this card is a good sideboard option. You don't have to play it against a maybe one, but yeah, I think this card is really phenomenal. The second last thing we have is Gigantic Meteor. I know they released a new battle card, new extra card that does something similar to the Galactic Meteor, or Gigantic Meteor, sorry. But the thing I prefer about Gigantic Meteor more is that you can use this 30k ability to kill a variety of things. Like it can be for a Gogeta Zeno, for example, you get to kill a 25k Gogeta and a 5k Goku, whereas the other extra card they printed doesn't have that option. And then it also is just a 15k combo, right? So it's pretty good, pretty good. This is personal preference. Again, some of these cards you don't have to run the side, but the sideboard is kind of just what I'm considering between the side and the main. And then lastly but not least, King Vegeta's imposing presence is the it's essentially red Senzu Bean, right? You can resolve it for free. This card will be coming into like the super heavy aggro matchups, or maybe I'll find a spot for it in the main board. Have to see. But yeah, that's the deck, guys. I really hope you enjoyed my insight going over the deck. I think my 2 biggest takeaways I would like to give to you guys if you don't want to go for my exact list. The first thing being, please don't run the skillless Gohan stuff. I think it's just an int in this deck. Like, if you want to play that kind of stuff, just play the Gohan leader. It is significantly better. You have access to these 3 cards so easily in this deck, and these 3 cards are absurdly powerful. Also, I think After Image is an easy 4 in this deck. It is live from turn 1, so like you might as well get the insane value that this card can provide. And the biggest thing about this deck, you want to be playing this card turn 4 every time. That is the big thing. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. I will be updating this deck as I go. I'll most likely revisit this deck as the more and more cards come out. I'm assuming a promo will be coming out for this deck, and that is the last thing I'd probably consider for like just a promo. If that comes in and out, I will be changing the main, but I think for the most part, a lot of this will be staying similar. I think the only cards on my mind that I'll be taking out is this Unison. Again, it really underperformed, really lackluster. I'll play around with my SCR options, and then just some of the U7 cards. There are a couple of U7 things that I am thinking that might be good, but I think these are just the best by far. The only card I might be changing is maybe the Spirit Mentor, maybe it's just a sideboard card, but overall, I think this deck is very fun. I think it'll be underrated going forward because you can't overwhelm. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Leave a comment on what you think. Let me know how you think of my deck. I will be revisiting this. I will be making another profile with like a more finalized version, but this is like a fairly early draft again. I played about 10 games of it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. This is John signing out from Collector's Company. Peace.